Good morning.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members, Deputy Minister, and the DDG, and the DG, the acting DG, and all the staff, the team from, and the entire team from the DSTI. Welcome back, honorable members, and Happy New Year, as this is our first meeting of this year, of the portfolio meeting this year. I hope you had enjoyed your festives and you are now refreshed for the new year. We're meeting today to receive a briefing from the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation on the 2024-2025 second and third quarter financial and non-financial performance report. Our agenda is as follows. First, it's welcome, and then the second part is it's apologies, and then we will then have to consider the agenda, and then from there we are going to receive a brief from the department, and then it's questioning and discussions, and then we'll have way forward, and then we adjourn. Can I have a mover to adopt an agenda?
Chair to Honourable Mazzoni.
Hi, Honourable Mazzoni.
Morning, Chairperson. Morning, colleagues. Honourable Chair, I'd like to move the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Honourable Mazzoni. Can we have a seconder? Honourable Sapo.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to honourable members. Yes, Chair, I move to second the mover for the adoption of the agenda. Thanks.
Thank you, honourable members. We are now going. Shanaz, can you assist us with apologies?
Sorry, Chair, my hand is up. It's Dr. Temekwayo.
Hi, Dr. Temekwayo. You can speak.
I just say I'm a new member and I never had the chairperson welcoming us. Thank you.
I'm so sorry, Dr. Temekwayo. I almost thought that it's everyone that we have been with. Welcome to the Portfolio Committee. Honorable members, the members from the Department of Higher Education, Science, Science and Science, Technology and Innovation. We are joined by a new member who had replaced Honorable Pambo. If I'm getting it right, yeah, it's Honorable Pambo. It's Dr. S.S. Tembakwayo. You are welcome to the Portfolio Committee. Feel free to participate fully, and we are glad to have you in the Portfolio Committee. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
Chair.
then, all right, can we have Shanaz?
Chair and everybody on the platform. So the apologies we received written communication from the ministry. The minister is unfortunately not available for today's meeting. He's traveling on official business. And then from the member side, we had an apology from Ms. Shlungo, who will be joining the meeting late. Other than that, we are full component of our representation on the committee. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Shanaz. We are now going to receive a briefing from the department. The Deputy Minister, can you take over from here? DM.
Oh, thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the members of the Portfolio Committee, and greetings to the members of the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation. Let me also, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, greet the new member, Dr. Tendegwayu, and really join you in saying we're looking forward to working with her in this portfolio committee. And as I'm saying, I hope all the members, we had a good rest together with the members of the department. And Chair, it's a very hectic year that we are beginning. Will be hard at work this year. Whereas, as we'll be hosting G20, there are so many series of engagements that we are going to be having during this year. And our Minister, Chairperson, and the members of the Portfolio Committee, our Minister is heading the Science, Technology and Innovation arm of the G20, South Africa's chairship. So he is busy, as you have heard him now, as he's not even part of this meeting. He's in Egypt, where he's sharing one of those meetings again. So it's going to be a very hectic year, and the committee must also be aware and gear up for such engagements, because we'll be having these, as I'm saying, series of engagements, and the portfolio committee, in so many of them, would really love to have our portfolio committee forming part of such engagement and engaging with these countries that will be here in the shores of our country this year. But we are not there for now. A chairperson will be coming back to engage with the portfolio committee when it comes to what are our plans and what will be the engagements that we'll be engaging on as the portfolio committee, as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation on the G20 engagements. Today, as we have said, Chair, we are just here to give an account before you, both on financial and non-financial, of Q2. And under this financial year that we are in, under our, in line with our APP, a lot has happened, Chair and the members of the Portfolio Committee. I'm having a team here. When you look at the list of the delegation that I'm having here, Chair, with me, almost the whole department is here, just to show how we take the engagement with the portfolio committee seriously. All our DDGs, led by the acting DG, are here. Our chief directors and mostly the directors are here, so that we can engage and hear and engage with you and get the advice that we always get from the portfolio committee. But we are here really trying to drill down and give you details in our presentation as to say, what have we performed and how have we, where we failed to reach our targets, give you some of the reasons why we have failed. But really, there are functions, Chair, together with the portfolio committee, where we could not have reached the targets that we have put for ourselves. Yes, we'll give you the reasons. In some other areas, you'll see that in some of those targets, we are mostly affected by the external factors. Some, the disruptive nature of the year that you are coming from, where we're moving from the new administration to another, but you will see the progress where we are. But mostly, I can comfortably say we have fared well, and you will hear from the presentation that we are going to be making. I just want to highlight some few achievements to the portfolio committee, really, that when I just looked at, I was a little bit excited, but the team is going to look at. On outcome 2, amongst other achievements, Chairperson, one that excited me even mostly, it's on the human capabilities and skills for the economy. The department, through the NRF, exceeded its targets through bursary grants to support researchers and young researchers by 4.8% and 104% respectively. Research grants awarded to Black female emerging researchers were exceeded by 70%. This helped us in addressing equity targets in the STI environment. And it's one area I know you as the portfolio committee, when it comes to the issues of transformation, you always touch on and make us account on. We're happy really, and I was very excited to see that we are coming to report on that, and we've exceeded on that target. It's quite a milestone and it's exciting, and I hope the committee will be excited as we are. I'm just highlighting on some of the outcomes that I'm saying they are quite exciting. Also looking at outcome number 3, which is the increased knowledge generation and innovation output. In July last year, we reached a milestone by assembling the first SKA MIDE telescope 15 meters deep in the Northern Cape. This achievement was led by the SKA organization working with the South Africa Radio Astronomy Observatory in collaboration with the Chinese Institute. Again, during this time that we are coming to account to you, it's one of the milestones that are exciting where the department has achieved, and those are the things where we're saying we can come and celebrate and say, these are the things that needs to be known as to say, we are capable as South Africa too, and as the department to deliver, and those are the things that must be known out there. So a lot of progress has been made, Chairperson and the members of the portfolio committee, in space science. SANSA is leading the charge in many of these advances. Through our funding, we also helped the University of KZN Aeroscope System Research to commission a orbital sound rocket launch facility in Cape Town that was launched last year. That was another exciting achievement in the last quarter under the outcome 4 that has been launched. And it was launched here in Cape Town. It's one of the achievements, again, that the team will be talking about. So there are so many that I can highlight that are exciting. Whilst I'm saying, Chairperson, yes, we have achieved, we have overachieved in some areas. There are areas where we are saying we might not have reached our targets, but through the discussions that we are going to be having today, I hope and believe we are going to be shaping and even assisting us in saying what more can we do as the department in making sure that we reach out and deliver more on our targets. Another exciting achievement in the last 2 quarters under outcome 4 has been the launch of the seed fund of funds that is designed for the SMMEs in innovation space who struggle to get funding in any early stage of production of any product development. Many funding institutions, Chairperson and the members, such as banks and government funding agencies, they refuse to fund early stage development concept and any prototypes. But this funding from our department is not much. They see it when you go to these other government institute and the banks, they see it as risky for their investment. We have decided to take that risk to fund these SMMEs to develop these technologies at early stages. And that is where we believe they need this funding most. We have put aside about 300 million into this fund, and we see that it is going to be a game changer, and there are a lot of SMMEs. It's going to be presented well. Again, it's one of the exciting initiatives from the department that we are saying it's going to change a lot of lives when it comes to the science sector, and making sure that when we talk of how do we make science exciting and talk to the needs of the people out there, that is where the department wants to reach. As I've said, Chair, the acting DG is leading a capable team from the department who is going to get into details and expand on all the areas of performance that I've just touched a little bit on them. Can I then present to you, Chairperson, the team that is led by the acting DG so that they can take the committee into the details of the presentation that you are here to present to the committee on the two quarters that you are presenting today. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Can I hand over to you then, acting DG, to lead on the presentations? Thank you so much.
Thank you, DM. Good morning, Portfolio Committee members. Good morning to my colleagues. I'm using two devices, Chair, because one is enabled for audio. So I would request that when I present, I would switch off my camera on this one. This is where you're gonna hear my voice. Otherwise, I'll be presenting the presentation on my laptop. If I can then be allowed to share. Okay. You're allowed to do. Okay, Chair. Good morning again. As already introduced by the DM, I'm here with the rest of the DSTI team, DDGs, and some acting DDGs, and some other members of the team from different strategic units of the department. We are here to present quarter 2 and 3 of the current financial year, and also we are gonna be doing the non-financial performance as well as the financial performance, which would be done by the CFO on the same presentation. I'll just control the slides. And also we will indicate in the last few slides the changes that we submitted for the revised APP of the current financial year. That said, Chair, I will now begin our presentation. We are going to be just recapping the vision and the mission, our outcome goals. Then we're going to zoom into our overall performance as a department as well as at program level. And then we are going to go through a few of the highlights, some of which the Deputy Minister has already spoken to. And then, as indicated, financial performance. We also gonna do progress in terms of the implementation of the Audit Action Plan, and then share the revision of the annual performance plan. Our vision and mission is increased well-being and prosperity through science, technology, and innovation. Our mission is to provide leadership and enabling environment and resources for science, technology, and innovation in support of South Africa's development. The whole point as a department is that we would like to see science, technology, and innovation in the center of government, education, society, and industry. We have committed to 6 outcome goals, which is a transformed, inclusive, responsive, coordinated, and efficient national system of innovation, human capabilities and skills for the economy for development, increased knowledge generation and innovation outputs, knowledge utilization for economic development as well as for inclusive development, as well as innovation in support of a capable and developmental state. So for the 2 quarters, we have weighed ourselves, or in our own assessment, we feel that this is a good performance. It's not excellent because there are some targets that we haven't achieved, but we are almost there. So we also have not classified ourselves as having performed poorly. So this is a graphic presentation of both the quarters. Quarter 2 was much better. Quarter 3 we did underperform a bit in comparison to quarter 2, but there are also reasons for that. And then if we go to program level, program 1, 100% in quarter 2, program 2, 71%, program 3 achieved 67%, program 4 achieved audit targets 100%, and program 5 achieved 94%. Then in program 2, in quarter 3, which is a contributing factor towards the lower percentage as shown in the other slide, the pie charts. Here, program 1 was a regress. We achieved 75%. Program 2 was the only program that actually improved for quarter 3 to achieve 100%. Program 3 remained the same. Program 4 was at 80%, which is also lower than the previous quarter, as well as program 5 was at 73%. I will now be going through some performance highlights, but towards the end, we will also share the non-achieved targets with reasons for variance in terms of then why we did not achieve the targets that were not achieved. So in terms of human capabilities, this is a standing target for the department where we are presenting human capabilities and skills for the economy and for development. Here we offer postgraduate bursaries and internship, which are awarded through the NRF and other agencies. We continue to do pretty well. Obviously, the numbers it would be better if the numbers were more, but we always work within the budget that we have. So we also show the your BTech honors and master students, your doctoral students, and your interns. We then break it down in terms of how many of those are Black, how many are women, how many are Black women, how many are people with disabilities, and how many are South Africans, as displayed in this table. And then outcome 2, we are still continuing with the human capabilities. One of the most important things that we do is to support researchers and emerging researchers. This target specific, we also are intentional about targeting Black female emerging researchers, and we are happy that when we exceed the target as displayed here. We also host the South African Women in Science Awards, which we do encourage the committee members to also attend when we have these events so that they can just see the work that we do and the impact thereof towards society. We also have the National Science Week, which is an annual event we hold at different provinces. We alternate. So the last year's one was held in the Free State, hosted by the Central University of Technology. Oh, sorry about that. And then continuing with this one, we also have three major science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation Olympiads and competitions that we had in December. The one is the National Science Olympiad that was finalized between October and November. They will also have the ESCOM Expo for young scientists that was held in September, and the South African Maths Olympiad, which concluded in November of 2024. Moving on to outcome 3, specifically looking at quarter 2. In July, we had a milestone in terms of construction of the square kilometer array mid-telescope in the Northern Cape, with the assembly of the first 15-meter dish. And these dishes will cover frequencies of 350 megahertz to 24 gigahertz, which enables a wide range of scientific studies. This project is on track. We are anticipating that 2 more dish structures would be ready for assembly, and full-scale construction is expected to be completed by, or to take to ramp up by 2025, which is the year that we're in already. And then continuing, we have the South African National Antarctic Program, which we call the SANAP. This is under the South African National Space Agency, and is funded there, which is the digital high frequency radar and the polar space weather studies. These both activities were taking place at the remote stations of the South African National Antarctic Expedition in Mariam and Go Islands throughout the year. SANSA owns and operates over 80% of at Sinai. There are new overwintering engineers have the new engineers have been appointed and have started their training program, and also the highlights was the calibration of the secondary array, which was recommissioned earlier in 2024. Continuing with space matters, the Aerospace System Research Institute. This one is at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, but funded by the department. Also commissioned a new sub-optical sounding rocket launch facility at the Denel Overbeck Test Range in the Western Cape. This successful cold flow propellant test was running using a Phoenix hybrid rocket. And also we have the Space Propulsion Program, which develops propulsion systems for rockets and scientists and satellites, as well as testing and manufacturing facilities, which will enable sovereign access to space for South Africa. In terms of the increased knowledge generation and innovation outputs, we have a program called the Indigenous Knowledge. In that regard, here we're looking at the registration system, which looks at the Indigenous Knowledge Systems Documentation Centers, and these have been established across the 9 provinces of South Africa. In October, we coordinated and facilitated a training session for the Western Cape team. This aims to familiarize the teams with the process of documenting Indigenous knowledge of communities using laptops and video cameras, and how this work fits in within Chapter 6 of the Indigenous Knowledges Act. We also shared fundamentals of monitoring and evaluation of the project and the importance of performance management. There were participation certificates issued for the teams. There was also the launch of Freshwater and Terrestrial Environment Research Platform. This is done with the NRF. This was launched in Winterton last year in November. The FTON is a research initiative which addresses critical issues such as climate change, biodiversity loss, water resource management, and extreme weather events, which provides an essential insights into how these challenges affect both ecosystems and the communities. There are 6 research sites across the country's diverse biomes, including the Northern Drakensberg, where this was launched, the Lowveld, Kimberley, Maputaland, Greater Cape Town, and the Garden Route. Each site has a system of environmental observation instruments representing ecosystems such as urban areas and crop plants, all with a central coordination and data management facility and a network of supporting sites. It was a very good experience to get first-hand testimonies from the communities on how this project has kind of like made them involved and be in touch with their ecosystems and understanding the climate change issues. The fourth outcome looks at knowledge utilization for economic development in revitalizing existing traditional industries and stimulating research and development-led development. The seed fund of funds. This is what the DM spoke to as well. Here we have the South African SME Fund, our Technology Innovation Agency, and the Impact Investor Squared investment. We launched the 300 million seed fund of funds, which aims at providing critical early stage capital to startup. It also addresses a key gap in the venture capital ecosystem, where later stage investments such as Series A and Series B have historically attracted more funding. This initiative is designed to bridge the early stage funding gap by providing crucial support to at least 50 technology driven startups. But more importantly, it fosters innovation, it drives transformation and diversity in South Africa's tech sector whilst paving the way for sustainable economic growth. Continuing on that one, we had the National Science and Technology Forum Awards. This is also an annual event which the National Intellectual Property Management Office within the department had sponsored the Innovation for a Small Medium Enterprise Award. At the awards, these were held in June. They are normally held around June, July of the year. This particular company that won this award is now employing over 150 people, including 16 qualified engineers. They have also made a significant impact where approximately 90% of their workforce started out as unskilled workers from Ikageng township near Potchefstroom. These people have now become specialized technicians performing safety critical tasks regulated by US and European aviation authorities. There was also an Irish Tech Challenge South Africa Imagine, where over 350 startups from our country applied to participate in this challenge, which is a week that was held in Ireland from 22nd to 27th of September. There were 7 finalists that were selected to showcase their technological innovations, and the event had technology leaders that come from different parts of the world. The program was led by the Embassy of Ireland in South Africa in partnership with the University in partnership with VETS universities. There's a digital innovation precinct called Chimologong, and then we, in partnership with the TIA, one of our entities, ourselves, as well as Doc Patch Labs Ireland. The Mandela Mining Precincts hosted an open day in November, which is a day where they showcase their research, development, and innovation, which just enables partners to exhibit at the event. The event itself does provide an opportunity for mining-related firms to participate, and it was a huge success, especially around the attendance, which went beyond expectation, and also the discussions and panel sessions that were there. This also helped to confirm and strengthen the Mandela Mining Precinct as a key nodal point for mining research, development, and innovation, and the joint partnership between the department and the Minerals Council of South Africa, which continues to be proven to prove to be impactful and successful. In terms of knowledge utilization for inclusive development, the South African Sanitation Technology Enterprise Program won a bronze at the International Water Association Projects Awards, Innovation Projects Awards. This was led by the Water Research Commission, and they won a bronze in the market changing water technology and infrastructure category. This also highlights that there is a role for the South African Sanitation Technology Enterprise Program in advancing next generation sanitation technologies and driving their commercialization in Africa. The program has successfully bridged the gap between research and market deployment, benefiting underserved communities with support from other stakeholders. This is big as well, as we are a country with water challenges. This is also a part of one of our catalytic projects, which is a smart village project. This looks at smart solutions to developmental needs in terms of facilitating access to education, healthcare, finance, and technology, amongst other things, through the Smart Village project. The project team started a land ownership process in the Eastern Cape in terms of interim protection of informal land rights act in 2023. There was a land survey that was completed in Q1, and in Q2, a permission to occupy certificate was received, and the community land rights holders resolutions were finalized. The first phase of fencing of the area is underway. Continuing with this, just to look at the numbers, we look at 44 job opportunities created through the DSTI supported demonstrators or models that experiment with new ways of creating jobs since the beginning of the financial year. We've had 22 grassroots innovators given support to commercialize their technology products. We've had 5 localized facilities which were supported through the department funding instruments to increase the footprint of innovation in rural and township communities. And then moving on to international cooperation and resources. Under science diplomacy, we hosted once again a highly successful Science Forum South Africa 2024, which is done in partnership with the Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa. And this serves as a platform for the promotion of the South African science, technology, and innovation system, as well as science diplomacy. There were various activities, parts of which included the African Union Development Agency, a new Partnership for Africa's Development Youth Side event. There was a release of the DSI and the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development Technology Assessment Report on electrolyzer technology for green hydrogen production in South Africa, as well as the launch of the groups of the G20 program, which we are hosting this year as a country. There were many panel discussions, site events, exhibitions, and science diplomacy awards. We attracted 5,000 participants from national and global institutions. In terms of strategic partnerships with China, Minister Nzimande undertook a series of high-level engagements as part of President Ramaphosa's visit to China, which then deepens collaboration in science, technology, and innovation. The trip also included the signing of 2 international agreements on global satellite navigation system and science promotion. The minister agreed to a 9-point private action plan for partnership initiatives in areas such as artificial intelligence. With regard to the European Union and our cooperation, the South African European Union Joint Science and Technology Cooperation Committee meetings, co-chaired by the DGs from the European Commission and our department, reflected on the rich, diverse cooperation, including on South Africa's leverage of resourcing from the European Union research program, which is called the Horizon Europe. There were also talks on policy dialogues as well as mobility program. These meetings, they serve as inputs to the SAEU summit to take place in March this year. Okay, now we're moving to the quarterly targets that were not achieved, Chair and the committee, starting with Program 1. The table would show all quarters that we are reporting on, including quarter 1, which means when we come to report on quarter 4, within the same table, we would have just added one more column to show the performance for the year. So this is the IMC on STI between ourselves and the STI intensive government clusters and enabling government departments. It should have been hosted by now. However, we then realized that with the change of government, there needs to be a re-establishment for the 7th administration through a cabinet process. That is still underway. Hopefully, we are going to have the IMC re-established soon, but the change of government made the previous IMC not to be functional for us to then continue having the meetings. So we are hoping that we table this in the fourth quarter so that we resume with these very important meetings. And then moving on to program 2, we've also kind of like highlighted the targets that we are removing from the revised APP based on the reduced budgets, but I am sure the CFO will speak to that as well. This here we report up to quarter 2 because of that particular reason. So this is the number of youth supported under the Technology Top 100 Learnership Internship Program. The target was 20 youths annually. However, the business implementation plan was not approved. The project is undergoing evaluation, and there was a delay in specific processes of the study, which has resulted in a program deciding to select the project for budget cuts as it is currently under review. Once we get the results of the evaluation, and if there are any if there should be any additional funding allocated, then there would be a reconsideration. But for now, while there was a review, it was also chosen to be the one that we omit as part of our deliverables for the year. And then the number of IP rights filed based on the DSTI conducted in designated areas. We achieved this for Q1, but Q2, the funds were not dispersed to the seed fund program. The request was submitted for approval to disperse the funds in late August. And at that time, there was a view that probably this should go to EXCO. By the time it was approved by EXCO, it was too late to report on this particular indicator. But this was done on the 21st of October, and there was a submission. A lot has since happened. It's just that we are unable to report within Q2 because we had missed the deadline of Q2 due to internal processes. And then moving on to program 3, a number of targets that have not been achieved in program 3, just to highlight to the committee members, it's because it's international, there's a lot of working with external stakeholders here. So that is why. So starting with the number of international leveraging opportunities for South African students participating in international training programs. So you would see that we had 10, 10, 10 as targets for the 3 quarters. However, the achievement was 554, and then the preparations had taken longer than anticipated. In some instances, the engagements with international partners were delayed because maybe a program was being finalized to ensure better strategic alignment. And also, the reports on some of the opportunities will only become available in the next quarter, like quarter 4, which is currently where we are. This is also your AUDA NEPAD programs, also the South African Network for Biosciences. We've mentioned quite a number of them. So when we do reports for quarter 4, probably we'd have a better picture because there are ongoing preparations and follow-ups with partners on reports required. and engagements on the finalization of the presidential PhD program. And then the number of capacity building initiatives for international cooperation, which were targeting historically disadvantaged institutions and individuals. Q1 was okay. Q2, it's the target had been 6. However, some of what was supposed to have happened in Q2 happened in Q1. So the accounting would have happened in Q1 instead of Q2, but it does not necessarily mean these were not achieved. It just means that they happened earlier than anticipated. So with Q3, we were back on track. Maybe as part of when we look at trends, maybe somebody may say maybe plan better, such that if everything is going to be happening in Q1, put it there. But sometimes it may not be as predictable. And then in terms of human capabilities and skills for the economy and for development, we missed the Q3 target by 3. We got 42 out of 45 because of planned engagements which needed to be postponed due to overcommitments. It was either DSTI or the other partners. It's just a matter of not finding time to meet. When the others are available, the others are not, eventually leading us to where we are. We are hoping that this should be fine. This should balance by the end of the quarter, and the preparations with partners will continue. The number of STI initiatives supported targeting objectives of Agenda 2063. It is the same as the other target where the initiative happened in Q1. So as you can see that Q1 exceeded, but Q2 did not, because whatever was supposed to have happened in Q2 happened in Q1. And then I think this is the last one for program 3. Number of new STI initiatives supported targeting the objectives of SADC, Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan. Here we have not achieved in Q3 because the preparations and tracking of initiatives is continuous, and the reports were expected in Q4. So this is a matter of the portfolio of evidence coming in so that this can be reported properly. And then moving to program 4, not achieved, number of graduates and students placed in the DSI funded work preparation program in science, technology, and innovation institutions. We missed the targets in Q3 where the students, the target was 650, and there were students that then got permanent employment somewhere else while this process was undergoing, where they had been offered, and then they got better paying alternatives, so they took those. However, the process of filling those spaces is ongoing. Probably as we speak, those places are already filled. It's just that the quota ended before the replacement could happen. It's not a matter of 43 students that are not hired, then we leave it like that. we would definitely go back because there are young people continuously looking to be placed. It's just that the reporting came before the replacement. And then implementation of the paleo sciences strategy aligned with the STI decadal plan priorities. This was fine for quarter 2, but for quarter 3, it's a matter of working with one of our important stakeholders, being the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, to discuss the draft document. There was a requirement that there should have been another meeting as a follow-up to discuss inputs. That is underway and hopefully it would have been done by the end of this month. So the delay was there. In terms of Program 5, the number of income opportunities created and supported through demonstrators or models that experiment with new ways for creating jobs. We did not meet this target. It is a matter of because there were delays in the transfer of funds to the TIA Innovation for Inclusive Development Unit. The transfer is being processed. There are issues within TIA that we are working on as a department. Some of these, it's part of that in terms of also on our part, seeking confidence around releasing certain funds when we are short of certain processes within, but also we do engage at a bilateral level with the TIA executive. At this moment, though, there has been changes that have been made by the minister to try and address some of the issues that are happening within TIA. And perhaps one of the things that we could do is to come as a department, I'm not sure when, just to give a briefing in terms of what then are we doing to rectify some of the issues, because I'm sure some of the matters the portfolio committee would have heard about them, maybe even in the media and so on. But we are working on it, led by the minister in terms of resolving some of the issues. A number of grassroots innovators given support to commercialize their technology products through the DSTI funding instruments. This also was an underachievement. Also a similar reason as the one I've just given. We are hopeful though that the difference will be achieved by quarter 4 once all these matters have been sorted. With regard to the number of SMMEs provided with technological support, this is a new indicator, probably not, the forecasting thereof was a bit difficult. We are hopeful that this will be achieved though, but perhaps it should not have been a quarter 3 target. We are monitoring and hopefully we would achieve this. But in terms of planning for the next financial year, we're gonna address this in terms of putting it at a better quarter where we anticipate achievement so that we do not have such issues. And then the number of knowledge and innovation products added to the industrial development and green economy IP portfolios through fully funded and co-funded research initiatives. It's a matter of outstanding reports here, where you need the portfolio of evidence before you can say these have been achieved. So you need the evidence, and we continue to monitor that, and we will incorporate into the Q4 report as well as the annual report. With regard to DSTI Adjudication Committee recommendations processed for the Minister's consideration, this was supposed to be signed at the time where we were going through the changes in terms of national elections. So it's just the period under which it had to happen. But we it was negatively affected by those changes. But once the signing has happened, this should be fine. But it was just the period under which the signatures should have been received. We were going through a change, and kind of like at a time where there was no government in inverted commas, because it's something that needs to be signed by the executive authority. Thank you, Chair. I would like now to hand over to the CFO to continue with the presentation as I control the slides.
Thanks, MP. Firstly, let me greet the Deputy Minister, Honorable Chair of the Portfolio Committee, members of the Portfolio Committee, DSI colleagues. I'm going to switch off my camera just to ensure that there is a clear movement with regard to the slides. Okay, thanks. With regard to our budget, we have shared with you our budget for the for both economic classification and the budget within the programs. In terms of economic classification, we have put aside 385 million, and under goods and services we put 259 million. Transfers and subsidies, which have the biggest share of our budget, has 8,783 million. And we also put money aside for payment of capital assets, which is 13 million. All in all, our budget for the entire is 9,441. Next slide, please, DG. With regard to programs, for program 1, administration, we put aside 399 million. Technology innovation, which is program 2, 1,908 million. ICR, which is program 340 million. Research, development, and support, we have put 5,363 million. Socio-economic innovation partnerships, 1,629. Next slide, please, DG. In terms of performance for the 2 quarters, quarter 2, the department planned to spend 6,687. However, our extra spending for that period was only 4,391, which is 46.5% of the entire budget. This translated to, in terms of monetary terms, 2,295, or 34% of the planned budget. The spending was not good in quarter 2. However, there was a significant improvement in quarter 3. Our planned spending was 7,263. Our actual spending was 7,039 million, which is 74.6% of the total budget. It translated to a variance on our planned spending to 3.6% of the planned budget, which is within acceptable parameters. When we say acceptable parameters, if we spend within 8% of the budget, it is acceptable in terms of the budget performance requirements. And we have also shared it there in a tabular form for ease of reference, as the same as I've shared on the narrative side. Next slide, please, DG. And also here for quarter 3, for ease of reference, we have shared it on a tabular form. Next slide, please. In terms of this one, I think I can go through it, but I've also shared it. Members will see for quarter 2 compensation, our planned spending was 195 million. we spent 191 and we couldn't spend 3.7 million, which is 1.9% of the budget. And then under goods and services, our plan was to spend 136 million, we spent 133 million, and we couldn't spend 2.8 million, which is 2.1% of the budget. Under the transfers and subsidies, our plan was to spend 6,347 million. We spent 6,347 million. And we spent 4,058, and we couldn't spend 2,289. This was quite significant, as I've indicated. And 36.1% of the entire budget was not spent as per the plan. And under payment for capital assets, our plan was to spend 6,876. We spent 7,822. We went outside the budget there by 13%, 946. As a result of one of the challenges we've experienced is that there were few invoices relating to procurement of laptops that we processed in the current year, including payment for finance lease. We had to take new for phones for new officials, and also for our, and also the refresh that resulted in us. The members will see this one of the items that we are spending significantly as a result of that, but it's not something to be concerned about because we'll address it as we move along. And in quarter three, there was a significant improvement in terms of spending under this item. We plan to spend 291 under compensation of employees. We only spent 282. 9 million was not spent, which is 3.1% of the budget. And under goods and services, we plan to spend 180 million. We spent 199. We were 19.6 million overspent, which is 10.9. However, as I said, it's not something to be concerned about. It is as a result of the alignment between the time that we are making some of the invoices. But the budget we have that is still available is enough to cover this overspending by the end of March. And under the transfers and subsidies, our plan was to spend 6.7 billion. We only spent 6,543 million. And then we couldn't spend 248 million, which is 3.7% of the budget. And under payment for capital asset, our plan was to spend 6,878,000. We only spent 11 million, which is we are 5 million outside the budget, or 74%. But as I said, it's not something to be concerned about. We do have measures to address this towards the end of the financial year. Next slide, please, PG. In terms of programs for quarter two, or program one, the plan was to spend 205 million. The spending was 201 million. 2.1% of the budget couldn't be spent. And program two, our plan was to spend 1,129. We couldn't spend 455. And we were 673 million underspent under this item, or 59.6, which is quite significant. It was as a result of, I think 18DG did indicate that in most instances where we've got significant underspending, particularly under the transfers, we'll find that our implementing agent, there are things that they didn't do, or they did not achieve certain milestones. As a result, we delay making payments. So this, in most cases, is what we did. That is, it is painful that we didn't spend, but it's a necessary measure just to ensure that we don't just transfer money for the sake of transferring the money, but we are assured that the money that we have transferred indeed achieves what we wanted them to achieve. Under program 3, we plan to spend 68 million. We plan to spend 59 million. 8.8 million of the budget was not spent, which is 12.9%. Program 4, we plan to spend 4,369 million. We only spent 2,758 million, and 161 million was not spent, which is 36%. I mean, 1,610 million was not spent, which is 36% of the budget. It's similar challenge that we have experienced. In this one, we had the payment for SKA, which we also had challenges in terms of their spending. However, we managed to spend. These members will see in the third quarter, there was a improved spending overall for the department. And under program 5, the plan was to spend 913 million. We spent 915. There was 2.2 million overspent. But as I said, it's not something to be concerned about. It's as a result of the timing of the payments in relation to the planned spending. Members will see in the next slide, please. See on this slide, program 5, but program 4 shows an overspending, while program 2 still shows a persistent underspending. It is as a result for program 4 is as a result of payments that were planned to be paid earlier in the year, but as a result of the slow spending of the implementing agent, we didn't transfer the money. We transferred them later in the year. So they are showing overspending as a result of that. But it's not something to be concerned about. Maybe if I can just start with program 1. Program 1, we plan to spend 280, we spent 298, which is 18% overspend, or 6.6%. It is as a result of payment in goods and services, but we do have significant amount of money under goods and services to cover that overspending. It's not something to be very concerned about. And program 2, we plan to spend 1,879,000,000. We only managed to spend 1,006,000,000. 872 couldn't be spent as a result of the challenges we have with one of our implementing agent that has got a significant budget. We couldn't transfer that money because they are not spending, they are struggling to spend. And also it is affecting some of the things that they need to achieve. But as the DG said, we are in constant discussion with all these entities to ensure that their spending improves and they achieve what they're supposed to achieve. And under program 3, we were supposed to spend 123 million. We only spent 8 million. 43 million was not spent, which is 35 million of the budget. And program 4, I've already alluded to that. The plan was to spend 3,640,000,000. We spent 4,404,000,000 as a result of a payment that was supposed to have been made in the second quarter. It was now made in the third quarter. And then program 5, we plan to spend 1,345,000,000. We spent 1,248,000,000. Next slide, please. And then the reason for variances, as we have indicated, for quarter 2 payment for compensation of employees, it was 2% underspend, which is within acceptable parameters, and including goods and services in the second quarter. I mean, in the second quarter, it was also within acceptable parameters. It was as a result of invoices for travel that were not received on time from the travel agent, and including invoices for National Science Week and Women in Science awards that were not received. That resulted in this underspending. Next slide, please. And then under the transfers, as the acting DG alluded, and also as I've indicated, if we are not happy with the spending, we are not happy with the achievement of what the programs, the implementing agents must achieve, we don't just make payment, as I said, that's for the sake of making payment. We have a series of meetings with them to discuss this to ensure that the spending is acceptable. So to ensure that the item does not have significant amount, we transferred money to other need areas within the department. So during the adjusted estimate, we transferred 70 million out of the transfers that were struggling in terms of spending to other needy items within the department. Next slide, please. For quarter 3, the item still was within the acceptable parameters. The underspending there, maybe just to share with the committee, is as a result of the vacancies that we have that we couldn't fill. Some of them the place as a result of DPSA requirements, where we have to request them to to give us a go ahead to to advertise and to appoint. And as a result, then there was a delay in terms of filling this. And then under goods and services, this budget, we had to increase it by 46 million during the adjusted estimates, just to ensure that we do not overspend during the financial year. Next slide, please, DG. The transfers and subsidies. The challenges I've indicated in terms of slow spending. DG and EXCO had to sit down, and then they requested catch-up plans from the programs. And indeed, we got the catch-up plans, and the programs adhere to their catch-up plans. Hence, we do have an improved spending under the transfers and subsidies in quarter 3. is as a result of the pressures that the programs were put under to ensure that the spending improves, and that has indeed worked. Next slide, please, PG. We have also shared with the committee our spending on procurement plan, particularly with regard to historically disadvantaged individuals and organizations. So under the procurement, our total procurement expenditure on goods and services as at 1 July to end of September last year amounted to 25 million. This is only to small, medium enterprise, medium and macro enterprises, black companies, women-owned, youth, and companies owned by disabled people. Our total spending in that quarter was 133, but this includes payment to state institutions and other companies, but not necessarily HDIs. State institutions, DERCO, GCIS, CETA. In terms of spending in this area, for small, medium, and macro enterprises, we spent 16 million, which is 64.1% of the spending. And black companies, we spent 18.9 million, which is 73.8%. Women-owned companies, we spent 12 million, which is 47.5%. And youth-owned companies, we spent 2.4 million, which is 9.7% of the total spend. And companies owned by disabled people, we spent 1.4 million, which is 5.8% of the total spend. Next slide, please. For the third quarter, we spent 26 million, and we spent 199 million overall under the goods and service item. And then for the quarter, under small medium and macro enterprises, we spent 15.3 million, which is 57.1%. Black companies, we spent 19 million, which is 71.3%. Women-owned companies, we spent 11 million, which is 41.3%. Youth-owned companies, we spent 4 million, which is 16.2%. And companies owned by disabled people, we spent 546,000, which is 2.2%. This is only for the quarter. It's not an aggregated amount. Just members just to be aware of that. For quarter two, it was not an aggregated amount. It is the amount we spent for that particular quarter. And then for quarter three, the 26 is not an aggregated amount. It's the amount we spent for the quarter. Next slide, please. We have also shared the total amount spent thus far under this. We spent aggregated 74% since April up to end of December, which is 43 million. Which is 74 million. And under small medium enterprises, we spent 43.5 million, which is 58.2%. Black companies, we spent 54 million, which is 72.4%. Women-owned companies, we spent 30 million, which is 40.5%. Youth-owned companies, we spent 10 million, which is 14%. And companies owned by disabled people, we spent 2.9 million, which is 3.9% of the budget. Next slide, please. We have also shared with members our performance in terms of payment of invoices to our suppliers. So from April up to end of December, our average number of days was 8%, which was also consistent with how we've been performing in the prior year. Next slide, please. We have also shared with you our performance in terms of whether we are paying our invoices within 30 days. There are 2 months from April up to now where we were not able to pay within 30 days. In April, we paid 98.7, and June we paid 99. We have shared this with the portfolio committee when we were presenting a June report to say it is largely on invoices where you'll find that we've got a contract, and during the contract period, the tax matters of a service providers are no longer in order, and they don't rectify that. We only become aware at the stage of making a payment. And that is one of the reasons that made us not to pay our invoices on time. But largely, we have strived to ensure that we pay all our invoices on time. As we have did indicate to members that we will continue ensuring that we pay all our invoices on time. From July up to now, we managed to pay all our invoices within 30 days. All our valid invoices within 30 days. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, teacher. We have also shared with you how we have performed in terms of resolving the findings we've had from Auditor General. Maybe just to share, maybe on a positive side, as a department for the past 3 years now, we haven't received any finding within the supply chain environment, except in the current one where they raised an issue with regard to our policy, but not necessarily in terms of how we are procuring our services from the service providers. So there was no issue in terms of the department complying with rules and regulations when it comes to procurement. And of all the findings we had, there were 8 findings, not only on finance, but the entire department, and only 2 of them were partially resolved. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, teaching. Okay, one of the findings was that they raised an issue with regard to the ACM policy to say is not updated to to cater for the new instructions or the changes in legislation. By the time the finding was raised, we were busy with the the consultation, the review, but to ensure that we always comply when there are new instructions or there are new legislation changes. As a department, we will issue our internal circular approved by the DG to concretize what the legislation or the instruction need would require from us while we are busy reviewing our policy. And on this one, the finding was on procurement by other means, which is a deviation. Our policy has a procurement on deviation, but the wording ours is a deviation, and the instruction note it says procurement by other means. So we had to go and revise our policy to make sure that it's consistent. The requirement in terms of deviation by other means or procurement by other means and deviation are the same, and procurement by other means is deviation. So we just didn't want to continue having discussions with AG in the interpretation of the instruction note, but just to update it to ensure that when they come next time they find that our policy is updated, and we are happy to indicate that our policy was updated and it has been approved. Next slide, please. And also on SCMLA, again, they said our policy does not indicate the number of days that we are saying the quotations will be will be sent to the service providers. We have addressed that. As I said, the policy has been approved to ensure that that one as well is clear in the policy. Next slide, please. There was also a concern with the reported indicator and the target on the APP for annual targets, where they said they are not consistent when compared to the indicator and the target on. But there were 2 tables, table 5 and 4. And the tables have been reviewed, they were corrected to ensure that there is consistent throughout the tables. And also the department has formed a quality assurance committee to ensure that the APPs are assured by internally before they can be issued to AG for audit, and also to portfolio committee for approvals. This one as well, it has been resolved. Next slide, please. Also, there was a finding on a difference between the note and the cash flow. This one was as a result of an error on the template we are using to prepare financial statement. It was not an error that was made by the department. The AG was aware, and we engaged National Treasury on this, and they have resolved the issue. The issue has been resolved. The template was corrected. And next slide, please. You also raised an issue with regard to our internal audit function to say they did not comply with the treasury regulation in terms of the transfers of funds. In other words, they were not happy with the scope of audit on the transfers. And no, they had a discussion with them, and the issue was resolved. And also the audit of the transfer became part of the audit scope of the internal audit. This also includes the audit of the asset management, which is one of the findings that is not resolved on the two issues that we have said are not resolved. They were saying they are not happy that internal audit did not audit the assets in a particular period. We are happy to report that when we finalized the interim financial statement for end of September, internal audit, when they audited them, they also focused on the audit of the assets, and they have issued their internal audit report on the audit of the assets. We are happy that this one, next slide please. Although on the audit action plan it says not resolved, we are happy to report that the audit of the assets was done and the report was issued with regard to that. Next slide, please. And they also raised an issue with regard to our BAS and PESAL account, user account management procedure. This is the procedure that help us in managing access to the transversal system, who must have access to which functions, how often should we review the activities of all users, including the system controller. So the issue was that the asset BAS and PESAL user account management procedure does not have a function, does not indicate the function for the review of the activities of the system administrator. However, this was done. The only issue was that it was not documented in the procedure. Then the procedure was updated, and although it is not yet finalized, but this one uh, the procedure was finalized, and then this one is also included within the procedure itself. So when we share this report or this procedure with the AG and all, they will find that the function is included in the procedure. Next slide, please. And this is the same one with regard to the PESAL user account management. They raised the same issue with regard to the review of the system control activities. The other one, I'm mistaken, it was for not a system controller but a logis controller, because the two systems, the procedure deals with all the systems, logis system, including the BAS and PESA. Next slide, please. This is the end of my presentation. I'll hand it over to acting DG to finalize the presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Robert. Just the last few slides, Chairperson and the committee, we're just highlighting here the changes that were made in the 2024-25 APP, which is the third phase of the implementation of the National Development Plan, and also the final year of the MTSF 2019 to 2024. So, following the establishment of the seventh administration, realignment was necessary to reflect the new strategic priorities. Though we are doing that with the MTDP, just to refine this one as well as the matters that we had in terms of the budget cuts. So the revised APP incorporates STI interventions that align with these priorities while remaining within the approved budget or the cut budgets. There were three priorities outlined: drive inclusive growth and job creation, reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, build a capable, ethical, and developmental states. So in terms of the The key revisions in the APP, we had to include a deputy minister as she had joined the department. We had to reflect the changes in key personnel, especially after the retirement of the accounting officer. And then the new narrative included explaining the rationale for realignment to GNU priorities. We also updated performance tables aligning indicators to the 7th administration priorities. We also reformatted the technical indicator descriptions for clarity, and then there was an annexure which revised to reflect updated strategic plan interventions. So the specific programs where we did that, the amendments are the ones that I spoke to when I was presenting. As far as program 2 is concerned, we're looking at the top technology had 100 internship indicator, introduction of the Expo approved youth venture building program, as well as the 3 quarterly indicators were revised there. And then for program 5, we had 3. And then lastly, alignment of all program targets with strategic outcomes of the 7th administration. The annexures are the inclusion of the DDM projects in terms of what we did for 2020 to 2025. We also have the table updated to reflect amendments in program 2 and 5 indicators, as well as aligning of the MTSF and strategic plan outcomes with the medium-term development plan strategic outcomes. There's also, this is the same. Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Can I now please hand back to DM? This is our performance for Q3 and Q2. Thanks.
Thank you very much, ADG, and thank you very much to the CFO. Chairperson and the members of the Portfolio Committee, that was our presentation, and we've tried to cover all the areas and cover our challenges where we couldn't meet our targets and the reasons why we couldn't, just to state them to the Portfolio Committee, but also just to show the Portfolio Committee how we've tried to align our work with the MTDP, as that's a language that we now talk to on the new administration in all the departments, as to say what is it that we have done, but also just to, as the CFO was presenting, I think we have come up with the language, how strict it is and how strict the CFO can be when it comes to spending. When he will say nothing to worry about, you know exactly that you have to worry about, because there must be something that he has seen that he does not spend anyhow, but he has to drill down and see to it. When he has to issue and spend, he must be exactly be assured as to say the money that he has to spend, since we always cry foul in this department, and also assisted by the members of this portfolio committee, as to say sometimes we are a little bit, I wouldn't say underfunded, but what we are having might not be enough. So the strictness that our CFO really has to apply sometimes it does assist us. That is how you may find that sometimes he doesn't spend much. He just wants to see, as to say, whatever the spending, it's accordingly to what needs to be done. But we can assure the portfolio committee, as to say, come Q4, we'll have try by all means to meet all the targets that we have put ourselves for the financial year, that is 2024-2025. So this is what we are here to present to the portfolio committee, and we are open and waiting for the advice that we are going to be getting from the portfolio committee. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson.
Thank you, DI. Thank you so much for the comprehensive presentation from your team. We are hopeful that all the targets that are not met on time will be met on time and aligned properly in the next process. Honorable members, but nonetheless, your work is well recorded. And I have honorable members. I see that your hands are already up, honorable members. Can I have honorable members' hands indicating by the show of hands those who want to engage? Honorable Mazoni and Honorable Boshoff and Honorable Sapo, Honorable Temakwayo, Honorable Jadu, Honorable Ramungaro, Honorable Nkosi, and Honorable Shongo. Honorable Mazoni, you're set. In that order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the department for the presentation. Chair, I've found in my experience in Parliament, underspending is often a worse situation to be in than overspending, because when you underspend, Treasury determines that you don't require that amount of money, and then unless you can give the AG valid reasons why that money is then redispersed. I think there was a general theme when we had our budget debates that everyone agreed that this department was absolutely essential and was doing, for the most part, fantastic work and was highly underfunded. So my question is to the department, how much, who is going to Treasury and asking for the increase in budgetary requirements? And is there any indication yet, and the DM might be able to answer this, has there been an indication to the Minister or to the DM what kind of budgetary allocation we can be expecting for this incredibly important sphere as we are going into the G20? The theme is basically science, technology, and innovation. The whole world is looking at how they can increase spending in research and development. So, if we want to be a big player, we must now start spending big money on our research. Chair, then something was said, and I must just put this on record in a sort of a defense of the members of this committee. The members of this committee are completely and at 100% involved, excited, and from at least this is my perspective in this department. We, however, cannot on a day's notice fly around the country to scientific events or awards that are happening. So we do require some notice, please, so that we can attend these awards, because I guarantee you we want to be there. We want to be encouraging the community, and we want the community to see that we're engaging with them. But we've had very short notice. So just as an aside, I'd like to mention that. Then, Chair, my last point, because we've got a lot of speakers, I see that the theme of SONA, the feeling of the G20, everything revolves around our committee. But I've seen very little committee involvement in any of these particular meetings. Chair, in fact, the only activity that I've seen from science, technology, and innovation was your briefing to the Media Council not too long ago that Parliament has established. Further to that, I've really heard very little. So I'd like to know from the department side, have they been asked to plan anything? Are there any big events that we should know about that are coming up this year? And most importantly, will the department have the funding for it? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mas. In that order, Honorable Members.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Let me just put my hand down before I forget that. I want to welcome this report, and especially the way in which it was done to be a real report and not to try to squash in some things just in order to have it by the date of the report. Sometimes it is as if people approach the report as if the report is the goal, but the report is not the goal, the work is the goal. And the report just reports on the work being done. So I welcome the open and the frank way in which it is done, and recognize that this is isn't a full year report. So very often the work doesn't go equally in months or in quarters, but that there's a little bit of a bottleneck which can be passed before the end of the year. So I want to say that as we are actually, as we got used to, is that this department reports very well and honestly, and that the work is, the department is serious to get its work done. I want to ask something which is a little bit off topic, which I could have done outside of the meeting if we were together physically and not virtually. And that is around the fact or a situation where somebody wants to get into touch with a hydrogen society roadmap, working on a project with funding from abroad, but they need some kind of endorsement from the government. Now, I try to correspond with one of the DDGs to whom Ms. Isaacs referred me, but I didn't get an answer. And maybe some of the senior officials could just assist me. This is a private company working on a green hydrogen project in Saldanha Bay. They have the funding from abroad, but they need some, I don't exactly know what, but I just want to get the right people to talk to each other, some endorsement from the state that it's actually happening. Thank you. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Honorable Bosho. Next, Honorable Sapa.
Thanks, Chair. Good morning to you, the Deputy Minister and honorable members in the meeting. Chair, one, I just got two questions. But before I raise those two questions, Chair, I think the DG will agree with me on this one. Oh, firstly, DM, your minister hardly attend portfolio committee meeting, and now it's that concerning. He's always abroad or always having commitments, and that is a matter of concern. Please register that with him. I think the DG will agree with me in two sayings. The reason why the department haven't achieved the targets in some areas, it is because of poor planning in some instances. I am not convinced that there are any areas that the department could not achieve targets because of incapacity. I think it's a matter of prioritizing and the matter of planning better for the department for the department in order to achieve some targets. I think it's just a poor planning. The second thing, Chair, I hear the CFO saying other matters we must not worry because there are interventions that will come on to close the gap between the spending and underspending and overspending. I will agree with Honorable Mazot. In any area, underspending is a matter of concern to us because underspending to us, it just says something is not being done right. And that speaks to the service delivery that our people are waiting for in rural areas or in townships. So, in anything that has to do with underspending, say, is a matter of concern to us. We all agreed that the department is underfunded, but at least spend the little that we were allocated to the department. Same goes to the overspending, and overspending in some areas it means poor planning. And we can't accept something that says, no, 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 we will deal with it later on. Plan properly and spend the little that you have. So we cannot not to be concerned about that. I heard the CFO chair saying that in some areas there is an understanding because some implementing agencies haven't finalized the work that they want to finalize. I want to know which are those implementing agencies? This we must go to an extent of generalizing and be given specifics into say implementing agency A and B are the ones that caused to be where we are. I just want to know which are those implementation agencies. The second thing, Chair, is also on the contracts that the CFO was also speaking about to say the reason why some invoices are not paid is because there have been problems in terms of contract with some companies. I just want to know which are those companies that the department is struggling with. That made them not to be paid on time, so that we can be able to speak with something that we know. We might sit here and accept the generalization of everything, but at some point we must be given a specific so that we can be able to know what is happening. But other than that, Chair, I'm fine. Really, the non-performance on some areas is because of poor in planning. The department must do better so that at least in the next quarter they can come up with better performance. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Sako. I think it's Honorable Tembakwaya next.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks for the department's presentation. I've got only 3 questions to ask, and the first one is based on Program 2, where the priority include, as I quote, inclusive growth and job creation, reducing poverty and tackling the high cost of living, whose APP indicator is supporting of a number of unemployed youth by the leadership or stroke internship program. And this has been echoed in the opening of the Parliament address, which outlined these 3 priorities. Yet, no funding has been provided towards this program. Yes, we understand that you have provided that the program is under evaluation. Is there maybe the evaluation also due to non-appointment or the delay in the appointment of service providers? If so, when soon or how soon can this evaluation be completed? The second question, are all provincial IK documentation centers, IK, fully operational and staffed? And the last question is just a practical, interrelated question with the other department that exists in government. As you are also doing the Africa Sanitation Technology and Water Research Technology, Do you share the research-related water research matters with the Department of Water and Sanitation, as this department has a problem of contaminated non-drinkable water, as with the recent example of the Hammaskral saga, so as to maybe provide alternative solutions to solve the problem as it is experienced? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Tembakwayo. Who was this? Is it Honorable Jadu?
I want to greet the Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, DM, DG, CFO and Management. Ngiyanibingelela nonke sanibonani enyakeni omusha. Thank you for the presentation. Although I've noted several concerning issues related financial management and unmet target and accountability. There's over 1 million in irregular expenditure during the previous financial year. This funding raised serious questions about the department financial oversight and prioritizing of resources. Unmet target in key programs. Program 3, international cooperation. I think the department failed to meet its target of facilitating South African students participating in the international training program in previous financial year. We seek a clarity to this following. How many South Africans have directly benefited from this intervention in past 5 years? How many foreigners have been benefited during the same period? Does the department identify foreigners as historical designated individuals? And if so, how does this align with objectives? When you look at Program 5, Socio-Economic Innovation Partnership, this program also fell short of its goal. The department must provide a clear explanations of how actionable steps it has taken to improve performance and ensure the delivery of its objective this financial year end. When you look at grassroots innovation and missed opportunities, you know the story of Mayan. I can't go deep on that one, but the department didn't help Mr. Manyan. When it comes to fraud and corruption, I was waiting for the department to tell us about fraud, corruption, and transparency consent. This report is notable silence on fraud and corruption, despite the existence of an entire directorate dedicated to these matters. This omission raises questions about the completeness of the report and the department commitment to transparency. I just want to know how does this individual pass CSD screening process? The department must provide a clarity on how many private company directors are employed by the department. What measures are in place to address a potential conflict of interest? And another issue that I want to ask about work from home policy and productivity challenges. The department has cited the evidence of unmet target in forthcoming, which suggests lack of preparedness and accountability. This raises concern about the impact of remote work on productivity and oversight. In the previous financial year, the employee took a total of 1,045 sick days, equivalent for 4 years lost of productivity based on a standard 260 days of work year. With the average of employed salary of 1 million per year, this represents a significant of loss. This department must provide a written report detailing forensic investigation into sick leave to determine whatever is being abused and the percentage of staff who have returned to the office, measures in place to monitor employees working from home, ensure they are not engaged in private business activities during the work hours. And another thing that I heard about vehicles written off and accountability. We heard that the department has written off 51 vehicles, but the detail of the total material losses and the recovery effort from employees remain unclear. The commitment is seeking an explanation as why disciplinary hearing were not conducted in these cases. The lack of accountability raises concern about internal control and government, and sole service providers and contract management. I just want to know how long sole service provider contract have been in place. How many times this contract have been extended? Wherever the proper marketing testing was conducted to ensure the value for money. This information is critical to determine whether this contract are resulted of inefficiency or other factors. And in conclusion, Chair, I called for improved oversight and delivery. The department is urged to address these issues with a greater transparency and accountability. While challenges exist, this focus must be implementing corrective measures to improve financial management, target and ensure effective oversight. The committee expect detailed response and actionable plan to address this concern in this interest of better service delivery. The time for excuses is over. The department must demonstrate its commitment, accountability, innovation, and the effective or effective use public resources. And I'm very worried. I also asked the detailed report about. I'm also worried about the report of black. They used to say black. If they say black, I want to see Mkhize. I want to see Ndlovu. When they talk about black people, they talk about Chinese and they talk about foreigners. I just need a detailed report of those people who are sponsored by the department. I thank you.
Honorable Amar.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings to all our colleagues. I also welcome the presentation and the honesty in which you outlined the successes and the shortcomings of performance and the targets of the department. But however, I have a couple of clarity-seeking questions. Starting with the first one. With regards to the SKA telescope in the Northern Cape, you talk about things like, the frequencies it covers, and for someone like me who's unfamiliar with the scope of the scientific terminology and jargon, that really doesn't land with me. For example, it simply doesn't make sense. But I'm really looking forward to being taken into more understanding at a later stage, and hopefully during our oversight in the Northwest. However, you talk about how this project would enable a wide range of scientific studies. But if you were to kindly explain to someone like me the benefits of having, something like the SKA telescope, and how much is it costing the department, especially if you say the project is on track for further development. I would like to know what are the financial implications, and with this telescope, what will be the gain and benefit, in the broader aspect. And question two, there's a part in the report that talks about the Minister Nzimande deepening collaborations in science, technology, and innovation with China. And okay, obviously this for me sounds interesting. And the signing of the two international agreements on the global satellite navigation systems. But what I would like to know is, will we as a committee be given details about the agreement and details around the 9-point priority action plan, so we are kept abreast about the collaboration between the two countries, and really not just for interest's sake, but as part of our oversight responsibilities as well. And my third question, I'm really in agreement with Dr. Tembekwayo. I had a clarity seeking question on the TT 100 learnership and internship programs, and concerns around its removal due to understandably fiscal reasons, but those were addressed. However, maybe as just a comment or an input, I think these are the types of initiatives that need to be prioritized, because of their importance and, the element of youth target. And I'm really hoping that, after the evaluation process, we will hear maybe something different with regards to the outcome of the review. My fourth question is with regards to Program 2. It is stated that the IPI funds were not dispersed to the seed fund program because the acting DG delayed with giving approval. It also says that he only responded in mid-September, which, obviously became a hindrance to the process. I would like to know, did the IPI present the request to ESCO on the 21st of October as, stated in the report, and what was the outcome? And, how far are we with, the acting DG, sorry, approving and dispersing the funds to SFP? Because I see that for quarter 3, there is NA written there, without justifiable reasons being given. So I just wanted to know what is going on there. And my last question is with regards to Program 5. I read a lot in the report about, the transfer of funds being a problem. And obviously this becomes a hindrance to, the projects being fulfilled. For example, the one where 40 grassroots innovators are given opportunities to commercialize their products. I think that this is an important one because we talk about how we need to find ways to create jobs and give opportunities that will assist individuals to be self-sufficient. And in as much as I think that these are all great initiatives, my question is centered around whether or not the funds have or will be transferred to TIA, and what is causing the delay with, funds transfer. Is it an administrative issue, a political issue, or is, the money just not available at the current moment? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Angaro, Honorable Bosi.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings to yourself, Deputy Minister, all honorable members in the meeting, and also greetings to colleagues from DSTI. Honorable Chair, I think most and I welcome the report and an honest report, which was able to show us where the department is and where they are currently. Just my concern as well, Chair, it was also on the underspending, Chair, in particular, since there were limited resources allocated to the department. And also that there have been some programs that needed to be removed, like on the KPIs, like the human capabilities, due to budget allocation. So I'm just worried about that as well. The skills economy, the 100 learnership program that has been removed due to budget allocation, and that there is underspending in the department. That worries a lot, Chair. It's only that concern that I have. But I think the report was very clear and it was an honest report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nkosi, Honorable Shongo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me take the moment and greet everyone on the platform and also apologize for entering the meeting a bit late. I had other urgent matters that I had to attend to. Well, Chair, most members have already covered me. I'll also raise my concerns on the underspending. It can't be that the department underspends when there are a lot of issues that needs to be done, as our support had mentioned, of people are waiting for services out there, and the department can't come here now and tell us on underspending and don't. Though we do note the concerns or the reasons why. Chair, we in quarter 1 and quarter 2, the portfolio committee came very hard on the department on being visible as a department, on being down in the rural areas, on all those things. And it was in quarter 1 where we raised that we would want to see the department on the ground especially when it comes to sciences. Even now, when we were busy with back to schools, the concern we get in the schools is that these learners do not want to take maths and science. And I think it is in this department that we need to have program that speaks directly to the learner and leave basic education. The Department of Science and Innovation should find ways of going to give learners back at home the importance of science so that they feel and understand the need why they should do it. Because if we leave it to basic education, it is hardly being done. You enter a class, there's only 15 learners doing maths and science, and it's very concerning. So I note the report, but looking forward that as we go forward with the department and this portfolio committee, the department can it at least prioritize starting with a learner. We understand them funding researchers, funding scientists that are already there, but one would just want to appeal to the department that if we can find ways of having programs that goes direct to our communities as the science and innovation department. Also, Honorable Mazzoni touched the issue of G20. I mean, we see statements from the department. We would hear that the minister is busy somewhere because South Africa is hosting G20, but the report does not come formally to the portfolio committee. What is the role of the department there? Is there any role the portfolio committee would play? So I'd appeal with the department to at least come with a shorter briefing or smaller briefing and just explain to the portfolio committee this is what's happening. I mean, the chair would take interviews since she chairs the committee, but I doubt the chair would have answers when asked about G20 because as a portfolio committee on science and innovation, we are just told in passing, Deputy Minister, that no, we are hosting G20 and as the portfolio committee of science, we are part, but it is not detailed as to what is it and what is the role of the portfolio committee of the department. But all in all, I do welcome the presentations, all of them, and thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Shawano and honorable members for I think the DM can please come back for responses.
Thank you, Chair. ADG, can you allocate your team to respond to the questions as they were raised according to the divisions with all the DDGs that are here, please? I will get into at the end. Can you do so, ADG?
DM, I also want to plead with your team that can they please be brief?
Come again?
I'm pleading for brief responses.
Yeah, please be brief. DG with the DDGs, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Thank you, DM. We will be brief and we would also submit written responses. Can I start with Ms. Ngwenya to, I'll just go from program 1 to program 5 in that order. So I'll start with Ms. Ngwenya if you are able to respond to some of the issues raised by Honorable Mjadu around, especially around the work from home issues, which I think we do not have as a department, as well as the sick leave issue that was raised. Thank you. Zanele.
Thank you, teacher. Good morning, honorable members. Yes, from human resources, we haven't had cases of sick leave that has been abused, but we will go back to our records and we will submit the written responses. In terms of working from home, we do have a policy that has been drafted by the department and currently in consultation with the departmental bargaining chamber. And as soon as it has been approved, it will be implemented accordingly. However, we do have a system like P-Connect, which we are using in our department that assists us in tracking the attendance of staff in office. Where we have cases which are very minimal, we deal with them as they come. In terms of the potential conflict of interest, each and every year, as the department, we go through each and every employee in order to check if their names are appearing on the CSD list. Also, over and above, when they submit their financial disclosures, we do go through the financial disclosures and ensure that there are no cases that have potential conflict of interest. In terms of our SMS in the department, all senior managers have been taken for lifestyle audit. That process was finalized last year. And really, we need to commend our department because none of the cases were highlighted in terms of our senior management within the department. Also, when we submit our financial disclosures at the Public Service Commission, whenever we receive a report of cases that might pose a conflict of interest, we do follow up and respond accordingly. Our reports are routed via the Minister's Office back to the Public Service Commission. So far, our systems that we are implementing in the department seem to be bearing positive fruits. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Can I then ask Acting DDG Program 2, Jetani, if you have anything to add to the questions?
Thank you so much, honourable members. Thank you for the questions directed to Program 2. I will specifically respond to 3 aspects. Honourable Bossoff, thank you so much for your query with regards to the hydrogen query. You can direct your query to Program 2. Myself, I will put my email address in the chat and I will pass it on to the current acting CD. Unfortunately, our chief director resigned and left the department at the end of January, which may have resulted in some of the disruption in the department responding adequately to your email, and I will definitely take that up. With regards to the comments by Honourable Timopayo as well as Honourable Tumi Ramokhalu and other members, the outcome indicator, human capabilities and skills for economic development, and specifically measuring the number of youth supported under the TT100 Learnership Internship Program, has been affected by ongoing program evaluation processes. As you have noted, the program is currently under review, and the decision to withhold funding until the evaluation is complete is to ensure a more strategic allocation of resources. The evaluation is expected to conclude in Q4, after which findings will inform future funding decisions. I can share with honourable members that the department is considering alternative approaches and initiatives to strengthen human capabilities and skills development. For example, funding may be reallocated for the establishment of a pre-seed fund to assist our SMMEs and public academics institutions in enhancing the commercial viability of innovations, making them more attractive for further investment. The department is working with the Technology Higher Education Network of South Africa, or TENSA, exploring ways to improve skills development to enhance employment opportunities. This includes a short learning program that has been developed, focusing specifically on innovation commercialization, as well as a shadowing and learnership program opportunities in the technology transfer as well as venture capital sectors. Furthermore, the department has been engaged with and developed a Black VC or venture capital program aimed to both upskilling existing Black venture capitalists, but more importantly, expanding on the number of Black VCs in South Africa to strengthen the innovation financing ecosystem. I want to assure all honourable members that the department remains committed to ensuring that all the funding is strategically directed towards impactful initiatives and to maximize skills development, support entrepreneurship, and ensure an innovation-driven economic growth. The last query that I would attend to is from Honourable Ramokhola. Thank you so much for your question with regards to the disbursement of funds under the Seed Fund program. As you've mentioned, the request for approval to disperse the funds was initially submitted to the acting DG in late August. In mid-September, the acting DG requested that the submission first be presented to EXCO, before final approval could be granted. However, due to timing constraints, it could not be tabled. I am very happy to report that the team did present to Exco in court. It did present to Exco. Approval was granted, and following this, the team has been proceeded to the contracting phase with all relevant innovation fund initiatives, including the PIC, contracting with PIC, contracting with the Technology Innovation Agency, as well as the SA SME Fund, is all set to be dispersed, the contracts to be concluded, and the funding to be dispersed before end of financial year. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, DG.
Thank you, Jetman. I hand over to Dan to talk to the G20 question.
Thank you very much, Acting DG, and good morning, honourable members. I will focus on the international cooperation aspects, starting with the G20, and we will submit a comprehensive report through the Minister and the Deputy Minister to the honourable members of the committee. I think, as the Honourable Mazone indicated, indeed, science, technology and innovation is central to the overall focus of South Africa's G20 presidency. And indeed, science, technology and innovation is formally recognized as a track, a dedicated ministerial track of the G20 processes. It's known as the Research and Innovation Working Group, and Minister Nzimande will therefore be hosting a formal G20 ministerial meeting of counterpart ministers responsible for science, technology and innovation in September this year. The G20 agenda for science, technology and innovation will be focused on themes such as how do we harness open innovation for public good, how do we, for example, build capacity in Africa, the African agenda is a central focus, and also advance strategic national priorities such as greater inclusion and diversity in science, technology and innovation. And we will present on details to this and look forward to engage with the members of the committee. There's a whole range of other activities. Some of the DSTI entities, which of course also report to this committee, have involved in G20 initiative. There's, for example, a meeting of G20 Academies of Science, a meeting of G20 Space Academies, and then various thematic engagements also with civil society on themes such as ocean science or the bioeconomy. Then with regard to China, we have the privilege to report to this committee in April with a detailed briefing on our international partnerships, where we will certainly present the 9-point action plan and the new agreements concluded with China. China is a strategic department for this Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, as indeed is other partners, the European Union, our partners elsewhere in Africa, Southeast Asia, and etc. And then just lastly, with regard to the Honourable Majwadu's question on the unmet target with regard to engagements to support the participation of South Africans in international mobility and training programs, we will present a detailed report to the committee on the number of South Africans who have participated in those programs and how that has advanced, specifically the objectives, the DSTI's commitment for transformation to afford opportunities for historically disadvantaged South Africans. I think then just lastly to say, because the Honourable Mazone did mention this, that we are working very closely with our CFO to ensure that all the G20 activities the department and its entities will host will be budgeted for and appropriately resourced. Thank you, ADG and Honourable Members.
Thank you, Dan. Can I now hand over to DDG Imran for the next set? Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning to all of the honourable members, the Deputy Minister, other colleagues, and the Acting DG. I'm going to be taking 3 questions. The first is fairly easy. That was raised by the Honourable Tembakwayo about the IKS documentation centres. Yes, they're all up and running, functioning, all the ones that we support. Obviously, with any institution, you work with them on a continuous basis, people leave and come, etc. So, but they're all up and running and performing very well and meet regularly to share what they do. The second is on SKA. I think, and we welcome the interest that the Portfolio Committee has expressed in the astronomy portfolio. I think over the next month, we have a presentation next week at SAIO on our optical astronomy program. And then we have the astro-tourism strategy. And then in the week of the research, colleagues are going to site, both to Sutherland and to Carnarvon, pending final confirmation with the portfolio committee. So I'm confident to the Honorable Ramachalo that after that you would have a very good sense of the astronomy portfolio and the different frequencies. In fact, the good thing is the visit is first to Sutherland, and there's a very nice science center there with young, dynamic people that I met last week when we were there for the Prime launch, who give you a sense of what multi-wavelength astronomy means in practice and why do we do multi-wavelength astronomy. So I'm confident that through those different interactions, people will have a better sense of the technical aspects of astronomy as much as is required. On the SKA, what is important for us to always highlight is that we have what we call Meerkat. Meerkat was an radio astronomy instrument that South Africa fully funded and in which is doing very good science continuously. Meerkat is our investment that we paid for, and because of that, we had a lot more control over all of the dimensions, including procurement, etc. And for that program, the Meerkat program, we've done an independent evaluation, which I'm sure will come up in conversations that we have over the next month on the astronomy portfolio. And we look both at the kind of benefits from a socioeconomic perspective as well as from a scientific perspective, and the report was very positive in terms of returns, in terms of human capital development, income, local economic development, etc., etc. So we have that, and we have continuously tried to maximize the socioeconomic benefits of the Meerkat investment. SKA, we continue to do that, but it's done in a slightly or quite a different way, because now the SKA, the bigger SKA, is not a South African project anymore. It's an international project. And as part of that international project, we make a contribution, others make their contribution, etc. So it's every country is making a contribution once to get their benefits, and that is done through something that was built into the treaty called a fair work return principle. So that's part of our ongoing work, and we then participate. DDG Dutoy is our member on the SKA Council. The council meets 3 times a year, and all of these issues we deal with: funding, benefits, sharing, license to operate, development, etc., etc. So there's quite a sophisticated arrangement in place to make sure that the large investment we're making, the billion rands of investment that goes into astronomy projects, end up doing effective work. And then finally, on some questions were raised at the end around working on the ground. Two things here. Through the leadership of our deputy minister, we've been engaging with the Department of Basic Education. I'm sure she'll also refer to this, to look at how we can strengthen our participation. We have a very good working relationship with our DBA colleagues, and obviously we try to do as much as possible, but we are looking at scaling up efforts to do appreciation of science. What I have found, though, is that there's a lot happening in projects. So the SKA, the SIO colleagues, our NRF colleagues, Itemba Labs, which is a facility through Grassroots Innovation Program. All of these initiatives have built-in mechanisms to get to young people, and maybe one of the things that we need to be better at doing is to just lift these things. I was at the physics conference recently at the IAU General Assembly last year. We had school kids coming in. We're working with different schools in all quantile areas around, whether it's physics or maths, and we're working now, and I'll end with this here. We've been approached by the Mathematical Society and the South African Institute of Physics to also look at kind of how is it that we maximize, particularly in these areas. So there's a lot happening in this space, I can assure you. Obviously, a lot more needs to be done, but we will continue pushing the envelope as much as we can with the available resources and in partnership with the DBE. Thanks, Acting DG and Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Imran. Can I hand over to DDG Mboneni?
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Deputy Minister and colleagues. Just to respond, the question that relates to me is the one on grassroots innovation. And I just need to firstly acknowledge that we do really consider this particular initiative as an important one to deal with aspects of poverty alleviation, employment creation, both rural and other aspect of what we call diversity, inclusion, and equity. So any negative impact on this, we're aware of the magnitude that it really has on delaying some of the service level impact that we're trying to address. So we did acknowledge that the progress on the third quarter wasn't too good on this one. We set a bit later than normal to review the applications, obviously, because they have to be considered jointly between us and our entity, the Technology Innovation Agency. We did sit and we have done the evaluations, and we have processed the funds for transfer before we closed in December. It's just that obviously there's a big part of December and January that is almost like a dead month. But that those transfers were processed, and we're hoping that the losses in terms of the targets that couldn't be met the previous quarter will then be recouped during this quarter, and we'll go back to normal. But I think going forward as well, to try and make sure that we improve on what has happened in terms of planning in the third quarter. Thanks very much.
Thank you. CFO?
Thanks, Acting AG, and thanks, members, for the questions. They were quite detailed. Let me start with, I think it's one of Ramazoni about the question as to who request funding to the National Treasury. The funding request, it starts when the National Treasury requests department to send the bids during the MTF period. However, for the longest time now, the departments haven't been able to submit any bids. I'm sure that we all know what happens. Obviously, we'll sit with the programs and they will indicate their needs as finance. We'll prepare the budget bids. They will get approved by EXCO, DG, and they will be submitted to the National Treasury. But that one will only depend if departments are encouraged to send bids. In the current climate, departments are not. They will be indicated that there will be zero increase to the baseline. So we can't submit any bids. The only time where we were encouraged to submit requests for funding was last year, the current year, in fact, around June, July, for the G20 needs, where we submitted the need to the National Treasury. So I think that will depend on their process for approval. I just need also to respond to the question posed by Honorable Machado. Honorable Machado indicated that there is a 1 million irregular expenditure from prior year. Maybe just to clarify, the irregular expenditure that we have, it is that Honorable Machado is referring to, is the one that we have requested approval to write it off on our financial statements. After we have sent it to the National Treasury for them to write it off, and then they came back to us to say we can ask the accounting officer to do that. This irregular expenditure does not emanate from 23-24. It emanates, the last irregular expenditure the department incurred was in 2019-2020. That irregular expenditure, the one that we incurred in 2019-2020 was removed, I think not even last year, but in the year before. We do have we have quite a number of irregular expenditure emanating to a number of years. 2012, I think 2013, where we have been struggling with the National Treasury because of their processes. But we were fortunate in the past 2-3 years, we managed to write off quite a number of our irregular expenditure, but they emanate from many years. We haven't been having irregular expenditure since 2019 2020, and including fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We haven't been having that. And then there is a question on fraud and corruption. The department does not have a unit specifically as a fraud and corruption unit. We do have enterprise risk management unit, which one of the things is to counter fraud and corruption, through awareness and all other measures. But we don't have a specific unit dealing with that. We are saying this is a fraud and corruption unit. And one of the concerns was that we are not transparent. Why didn't we indicate if there were any fraud and corruption? We didn't have any case to report to the committee that relates to fraud and corruption. Hence, there was no case to report. And there was one question about the CSD. I'm not sure if I heard you very well, Honorable Majadu, but I'm sure it relates to the presentation we made where we said one service provider's tax matters were not in order. Hence, we couldn't pay them on time. Well, what happens is if we bring service providers on board, yes, we do go through the CSD. But during the time that we procure, you will find that their tax matters or everything that we require, they are in order. But if, say, for example, the service provider will be on board maybe for 36 months, and during the tax matters must be in order for all the months of the contracts. There is 1 year where the tax matters are not in order. Then we will have a challenge because he's on board. We can't terminate the contract because someone's tax matters are not in order. The only thing we can do is not to employ them or to contract with them the first time that we issue a bid. But if they are on board, the only thing we can do is to encourage them to go and resolve their tax matters. And that will be the reason why you can have someone who later might not have his tax matters in order. But when we bring them on board, their tax matters were on board. That is why that person might, one would think maybe he went through the CST while they are not in order, but it won't be the case. We are quite strict when it comes to that. And there was one question about the losses where Honorable Mama James said we have written off 51 vehicles. We didn't write off 51 vehicles. It is we wrote off 51,000 rand as a result of damages to the vehicles. If a vehicle is damaged and then we repair it, you will find that the repair is 15,000, and then we will write off that 15,000, depending on whether after the investigation the official responsible was found not to have forfeited their state protection. So we'll do the investigation and determine whether the person was negligent. The internal legal service will be involved to check the matters of law, whether the person was, covered in terms of all matters relating to law. And after we have received that opinion to say, no, the person was, covered in terms of the law, and then the matter is written off. So we did not write off 51 vehicles, we only wrote off 51,000, but not only from one case, from few cases. And I'm not sure if I've covered all the question. And also the sole provider, there was one question about how long have we been having a sole provider. In terms of our procurement contracting, we can contract up to 36 months. And after 36 months, then we can review. If there is a need to extend, we extend, but we don't normally extend. If there is no need, we do go out and look for service provider. But if there is a need to extend, we extend for a shorter period for us to be able to continue. We do have a list of all the service providers we have procured by other means in our annual report. I think it's Part E, page 168, where we have the number of all service providers that we have procured over the period. Most of our service providers will be on training because you'll find that it's not particular trainings are only offered by a specific service provider, or membership, or maybe subscription to membership, subscription to to membership bodies, including subscription to certain publications. So there's quite a number of that, but it is quite detailed in the annual report for members to see. And I think I've, yeah, we just to, yeah, I think members they were worried about maybe we are not taking the underspending seriously. Members must, we are taking the underspending very, very seriously. I think I just want to have to put that one up front. And our programs, we are taking them to task in terms of underspending so that we can improve. We do not want to, we are not happy when we see this underspending. And one of the reasons we are strict, like Jetani said, that we look as to whether you are achieving or you are not before we can transfer. One of the reasons, and it is not what we said, is that for the number of years, every time when we go to the National Treasury discussing our finances, they will tell us that your entities have got significant amount in their cash and cash equivalent. They will be keeping surpluses. And then as a result, when the cuts come, that area where the spending is slow become a target for the cuts. And also for us to have an entity keeping money and we transfer to that entity while we do have other areas within the department that require funding. So hence we took that decision to say no, we can only transfer subsequent payment when we are happy with the spending of the entity. So that is one of the reasons. I know it's a painful thing to us, and we are always asking the portfolio committee to help us in getting additional funding. But we cannot just transfer money for the sake of transferring because it is quite counterproductive. If the treasury wants to cut the funding, the area where there is underspending, or maybe a lot of funding within the implementing agencies where the funding is going to be cut. Sorry for that. So we are trying to avoid that. Chair, I think I've answered all the questions in DG. And then if there is any additional, then I think we can answer them in writing. Thanks.
Okay, yes, thank you, everybody. Just to close, we do take into consideration Honorable Sapo's comment around poor planning. I think we are cognizant of the fact that we could do better there. Because some of the factors may be known, like where we reported that it was during the change of government. We could have factored that in. So we will work around that when we plan for the next financial year as we finalize. I think there would be some questions where we respond with reports to the portfolio committee, especially around the issue where the transfers that had not taken place, for instance, where perhaps the members are wanting us to be specific. There are certain areas where we could still respond via a text within the given 7 days. So we would do that. Maybe also just to close on Honorable Mchadu on the leave. We do not have, like Ms. Gonya said, we do not have leave issues within the department, but sometimes the number could be high because of one or two individuals that have been sick over time, leading to, in some instances, where people have passed away. So we've had those cases. But I think you mentioned like 1,048 leave days in a staff complement of 399. But we have had colleagues that have been sick for a prolonged time. Some would come back, but some would end up passing away. So we are able to give that report so that you are just satisfied in terms of we do not necessarily have those issues. Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. May I now hand back to you?
Thank you very much, ADG, and thank you very much to all the senior officials that have just responded. Chair, again, let me thank the members of the Portfolio Committee for the questions and the insight and the advice that they've given to us. But really, let me assure the members of the Portfolio Committee, more especially on the question on the G20 and their involvement, as to say, there is a lot that we are going to be engaged on as science and technology and the programs on the G20. Even ourselves as the department, we are in the process of finalizing all those engagement. We are led by UDDG, done Deloitte, and the members were correct to say, even the chairperson of the portfolio committee, and I'm saying even the members of the portfolio committee themselves must be aware, so that even when they are held, they are asked, they have to engage even with whoever, whether the media or the community themselves, they must know what is it that we need to say and to do as the science community. So we'll be coming shortly to the portfolio committee to engage and outline the programs and the processes where we are going to be engaged as the science community, as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation when it comes to the programs of G20. It's quite a lot, and even using the media platforms as to engage our communities as such so that they know what is it that will be contributing. I know Honorable Manzone asked even on the question of the funds and the finances when it comes to funding those programs and the department as such. I think our CFO has responded to that, but just to assure the committee that even in the department really we are scrapping and scratching, but we are going to be funding our programs when it comes to the G20 programs, and it will be well-greased and well-organized programs that we are going to be engaging with the portfolio committee moving forward. Honorable Tembowayo, Chair, did touch on our relationship and our collaboration and how do we work with other departments when it comes to the issue of research. How do we assist other departments? She even made an example of the Hamaskral, the water departments. That's exactly what we do as the department, honorable member. When we say we are the enabler, the department that works with other departments, we cut across all other departments, be it health, be it agriculture, be it water and sanitation, as we have said. That's where we are. We work with those departments, but we can even go further, even on the example that we have just touched on, is to say, as the Department of Science, Technology and Innovation, what is it that we have contributed to the challenge of Hamastral and the issue of water? There's so much that we can share, the collaboration and the working relation that we have had with the Department of Water and Sanitation. When we say really we provide the solutions to the challenges that our communities are faced with, but working with other departments, that is exactly where we come in. There are a lot of other examples of which I know, Honorable Tembowayo, those are the areas where, as we continue to engage with the portfolio committee, I know those will be the questions that will be raised. We can be able to elaborate and talk to some of the areas where we work with other departments as our department. But I know I'm very excited, Chairperson, really, as I move towards the close. I know we've been seated here for quite a lot. I'm very happy and excited with the interest that honorable members are showing on the core functions of our department. More especially, let me touch this one of astronomy, as to say, what is it, what are we benefiting as a country, and what is our youth gaining and developing in the development that is shown, we are showing as a country. And through the response of our DDG, where our members are ever invited, and we need to drill more for them to see the benefits. I think I'm excited. I can even assure you, honorable members, I visited the University of Zululand, I think 2 weeks ago, where when it comes to the expansion of astronomy, the interest that they're showing, they're even utilizing the mountains that are in that side, the dark mountains in the area, trying to make sure that when it comes to those telescopes, they replicate what we see in the Northern Cape. For me, it says, as the department, we want winning in making sure that we attract and we entice that appetite for our young scientists and our own universities most especially when it comes to, because I was even excited to say, this is our previously disadvantaged university, but they are in a position to reach that stage. For me, we are growing the traction of our young people, of our scientists, in making sure that we drive and we attract our scientists to more of these scientific studies that we want to. So there is a lot that we are doing. There is a lot that we still need to do. But together with all the advice that we are getting from the committee, that's where we're heading to. But thank you very much, really, for the advice that we have received from the committee. We've had the better planning moving forward, the issue of understanding of which it is a concern even with us, but we are promising that we'll always put those check and balances before we spend the little that we have. We must make sure that whatever the public fund that is put in our hands is spent properly and profitable. But thank you very much, Chair. I can hand back to you. We'll go back to the department and look at all the areas where the committee has advise us to go and look at. Thank you ever so much, Chairperson and the members of the committee.
Thank you, DM and the team from DSTI. We are grateful for those. We are happy with those responses. But the areas that the one area that I want to re-emphasize, DM, is that we we really need to. You really need from your side to spend the budget that you have. Rather, we come here and talk about the things that you could not do because the underfunding that you are receiving, the funds that you do not have, not that the funds that you have are not being spent. What we want to hear is that you are unable to do things because you are underfunded, so that we strengthen our support as the portfolio committee to the department on advocating for more funds, because really it's evident that you are underfunded, and we have made that appreciation here in the portfolio committee. So we would really need to have you spending what you have, because it's important for what for the achievement we want to see happening in the department. Thank you so much, honorable members and members from DSTI. This meeting stand adjourned. We'll meet in the next meeting. Thank you so much for your attendance.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks,
Chair.
Okay.